amount of pressure when you first do it. Now I do it and I'm used to it, but it's an unbelievable experience. It's exhilarating, but controlling that nerve and that pumped up feeling, that's the hard part. But I've done it in front of a crowd now 8 times, so you get used to it over time. But it's very hard to control your nervous energy, you know?
Because sometimes when you're so tense like that,
you're not loose, you can't be fluid, you can't throw your jab properly, you can't throw your right hands
feels
properly.
like you're not even hitting them.
Everything's stiff, everything's hard to manage, and it uses your energy up quicker. So dealing with the pressure of the occasion, I've been lucky enough to be able to deal with it since my 4th and 5th fights.
How do you relax?
Watch a bit of telly, walk the dog, simple things. Do you mean in the changing rooms?
In the changing room when
music.
You're about to go out.
Music and...
What are you listening to?
A lot of country music. I know it's become popular, but I've listened to country music for a long, long time. A lot of old school music. And I've think about what the work I've put in, you know, and I couldn't have done any more. So whatever it will be is what my destiny is. So there's no stress of thinking about could I have done more, because I know every single time I do as best I can.
I know your family support you a lot. How important is it to have them around when you're
I don't have my dad in the change room or near me on the fight night.
No.
It's business, it's professional. My dad gets nervous like every dad would, my mum. Yeah. They know when we go into fight, they've done all the work before, they put loads of work in, but me, my trainers, my training team, that's all I need around me. I don't like having a big entourage around me. We're there to do a job, we get the job done and we can celebrate after.
So Torero, would you say he was a journeyman because he's won 5 and he lost 13?
Yeah, he was a journeyman.
How do you prepare for a journeyman? Like, you know...
They're hard to break down. It's different. It's different. You have to break them down a little bit in a different way. But a lot of fighters on their way up, they could have 8, 9, 10 fights fighting journeyman, you know. But that's part of the experience. They serve an important role in boxing, bringing fighters through, and they're still tough to break down. And if you can knock your journeyman out, it's a good statement to make, you know. And they're part of the building blocks to becoming a better fighter. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean Torero, he still came and had a good go, landed a few right hands on me. Yeah. He still comes and game. He wasn't one of these guys who just tucks up and tries to survive. He still comes and has a very proud man, and I'm still in contact with him today, and he's a good man.
Nice. But round 2, 1 minute 25 seconds left, and the knockdown comes in, Tao comes in.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Amazing, especially after selling that amount of tickets. I caught him on the temple, followed it up. It wasn't the cleanest knockout. It was like a less clean version of the Babic knockout, scuffing shots and coming through, but the power was there to be seen, and he kept getting up. I think he got up 2 or 3 times, and it was just great when the Tao came in and can celebrate afterwards.
One thing I love about you, Johnny, when I was watching your fights is you're going in, bang, 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 like you normally think someone's full of aggression and temper and they've lost it. But I see you hit somebody just as their knee was touching the floor, and you hit them, and straight away you gave him a hug and kissed his head. Like it was like, whoa, he's not in a state of like demonism sort of thing.
No.
He's very present.
I'm present in the moment, and it was an accident. It happens. I've seen other fighters do it. You're flying with your punches, and one comes in. But I just gave him a little acknowledge to say, look, I didn't mean that. There's no honour in hitting a man when he's on the ground, and he's a tough man, Danny Whitaker. Fought for the Central Area title, so like they call it the Central Area, but they do it in terms of Great Britain, so it's more the northern areas of England. Tough man, and as again, talk to him still to this day, and it's just in my nature to be like that. Obviously, you can switch it on and off, and that was a moment just to switch it off quickly and say, "You're okay."
Where does that control come from?
Confidence in your own ability and not having to prove anything to anyone. I know I can punch. I know I'm strong and I'm a powerful fighter. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And it's being a sportsman and having a code of ethics and honour when it comes to fighting someone. It's a sport. You're not trying to kill the other man. Yeah. You're there to conduct yourself appropriately, and being a good sportsman comes before anything, winning or losing. You win magnanimously and you lose, and you're gracious in defeat as well. And I always try and conduct myself in that way. There'll be times when you're gutted and you want to do better, but you've always got to remember it's a sport and you've got to conduct yourself accordingly.
Well, you are a sports, person, athlete. What happens if you're just sitting in the pub or a bar with your family or some, just sitting down with a group of friends and somebody just starts bad mouthing you? and saying, "Who do you think you are? You think you're some sort of boxer? I'll have you right now." Like trying to play because there's loads of people going.
There's loads out there.
This guy's got a bit of fame. You know, he's got a bit of money behind him. If I wind him up, maybe I can get about that. You know.
You've got to wind me up first, though. That's the only thing. Can't wind me up very easily. If you're if you're so bothered, you've got to come up to me in a bar, because you do get people who do it. You get looks.
Have
you
you
get
ever had
people.
that?
Yeah, not people coming up to me, but you even over the last 2 years, when I first turned pro, people were happy for you in your local area, and there's still a great amount of people that are. I've got a great network of friends, but they're only happy while you're not doing as well as them. Once you start doing better than them, you get a few looks, you get people not saying hello to you as much. But when I go away from my area, it's great. It's amazing support, because people don't see you as often, and people see you for who you are. Because on social media and stuff, I try and project myself as naturally as I can. But you do get jealous people, but don't rise to it, you know. I've never had someone come up to me and say, "Oh, you do this." I've had one guy, a young guy, 17, 18, 19, I think it was 19. It was about half a year ago, said, "I'm going to knock you out when I turn pro. I'm going to knock you out." I said, "Turn pro first, enjoy it, and just be careful what you wish for." That's all you say. And it's just I would never dream of saying that to if I saw a professional boxer up and coming. You conduct yourself and say, "Good luck, well done, your hard work, keep going." And some people just lose their cool a little bit, you know.
Yeah. So what do you think of when the gloves were off? With Triple D against AJ, and Triple D said, "Well, let's just go now then."
Yeah, I quite like that. That was good viewing, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
great viewing.
I'd buy a ticket now just watching that.
I'm looking forward to that fight.
But AJ didn't really take it kindly. Just side-eyed him and go, watch what you're saying. Like, you're not on my level." And then Carl Froch comes up and goes, "What does he mean not on level? Where's the humble AJ gone? This is all his money. That's what he's referring to. Look at this, that, other." Like, what do you think of that whole scenario?
It's hard when you're fighting for the world heavyweight title. It's a bit different context to someone coming up to you in a bar and someone who's not relevant. These two guys know in a few months, when they've done that, they've got to go and have a fight, and they're fighting for the world title. And there's a little bit of jostling there, a little bit of body language and mind games going on. And if someone's saying that you can't intimidate me, you come over to me, I'm gonna do this and do that, it's very hard to keep your cool. But I think Joshua did it in a way where he did keep his cool. I know he stood up, but he done it in a menacing, intimidating way. And fair play to Dubois, he didn't back down either. So it's the nature and part and parcel of being a heavyweight boxer fighting for the world title. You're gonna get a bit of testosterone pumping, aren't you?
Yes, 100. Danny Whitaker, how was that fight?
Yeah, that was the fight in the Matchroom Garden.
It was an open atmosphere.
Really good atmosphere.
Different.
Really good. That was my third fight, and I was at round 2 knockout, I think it was.
Yeah, round 2, 1 minute 50
overhand
seconds
right
left.
That was good. Really local to me, but 10-15 minutes away in Brentwood. So yeah, really good event, and a once in a lifetime place to box, you know.
Yeah, it looked good.
Really good. You see the garden before it's all done up, and then you see all the stuff in it for the arena, and it looks amazing. It looks like a proper stadium sort of vibe. So it was really good.
You got Gabriel
Nguema. Yeah, he was tough. He was a Spanish heavyweight champion, but it was also tough because I broke my hand in the changing room and cut my eye in the first 30 seconds. But it would have been a tough test anyway. Yeah. Probably something I didn't need at that stage of my career.
How do you fight with a broken hand?
I was trying to land if you look at that fight back, I'm trying to wing the shots over the top. I couldn't really land on this knuckle. I splintered my metacarpal bone here. And it was an overuse injury. I really felt it before the fight, but I cracked it even more during the warm-up on the pads. So looking back now, I could have handled it better, jabbed a bit more, but obviously I spoke to you about feeling tense, feeling anxious, and that plays a big role. And probably a fight I didn't need at that stage of my career, being my 5th fight. Sold 2,500 tickets at Ali Pali. Someone like a Michael Rising or Torero would have been a good fit for that fight, but it's all experience in the bank. And looking back now, long term, it's put me in a better position because I've been in a situation of high pressure where things aren't going my way, you know. And I still won every round.
I mean, that's six rounds, wasn't it? You did on that one. That's one of your longest fights?
Yeah, that was my second longest fight behind the Armstrong fight, which went 7 rounds.
How important is it to get them rounds in? Obviously, you want to make a statement, and you've actually, come out, especially, the last fight. You know, Babik,
Yeah.
36 seconds. Boy, I was watching that. I was
36.
just sitting there watching that.